That is Nirvana Michael Walden. This is the Mahavishnu Orchestra. I can't make this out. This was like the first Mahavishnu Orchestra album. I'm a little bit on. I'm not sure which one this was, but listen to this drumming. This is really, really cool. This is funky. Nirvana Michael Walden. Wow. That guy, right? He had the funk. Well, anyway, let me listen to this. Whoa! Listen to this groove. Dig! Funky! Ha! Anyway, let me stop this now, right? Because I wanted to talk to you guys about my last little anecdote for today. I'll post all these things up a little bit later. You know, if you're a musician, of any kind, or even whatever it is you do for a living, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, if you work as a mechanic. By the way, I would not make a mechanic. I'll tell you guys a story. I thought I could change my distributor cap. This is really funny. And I really thought I could do it, I needed a new cap. The car wasn't running right, it kept stalling. So the guy says, oh yeah, you can do it. You take the cap off, you mark the wires, you put the wires, I wrote where the wires would go on a new cap, so I took the cap, marked the wires, marked the new distributor cap, so I knew where to put it in, took it out, put it in, put the wires in, and I started the car. And apparently, I didn't put the wires in the right place. And if you don't put the wires in the right place, it went, and all of a sudden, I smelled like there's smoke. It didn't catch fire, luckily. Thank goodness for that, but I burnt every wire. I melted every wire because I didn't do it right. And that was the last time, and then I had to get the car towed. Back then it was like $100. Today it'd probably be $300. So I had to get it towed to the guy. Bob was my mechanic at the time. He goes, I used to love this guy. Whenever I bring the car in, I would go, how much is it going to be? He used to yell. He used to go, $200 or $150. Bob, if you're out there, I love you, man. He was a nice guy. That's just the way he talked, But I'd have to pay him, right? If I wanted to have a running car, so I didn't have much choice in that matter. So, don't give me your car to fix. I wouldn't make a good air traffic controller either. I have enough trouble punching in codes on the computer. Forget it, it takes me an hour. What I wanted to say is if you're playing drums, whatever you do in life, you have to have a hobby. You have to have something that you do that's different from that, Now, if you're a drummer, you don't want your hobby to be listening to other recordings of other drummers, because I do that all day long. That's just part of what I like to do. But to relax, I got a couple of hobbies. Don't tell anybody. They're cool hobbies. I like to feed the cat outside my place. It's hungry. There's a couple of other places that I know where there are cats in the street. When I feed them, that's a nice thing for me to do, Not that expensive for the food. And they're hungry out there, It's a really bad scene out here where I live on. There's a lot of cats. I don't know how they get out there. But anyway, that's like a whole other thing. Then I like to relax by feeding ducks. They haven't come here yet, though. They're on their way, I guess. And there's a crew of them. And I'll never forget, I started feeding these guys, just before I come to the gym, I would notice them, and I said, wow, let me get some. So I usually give them bread. A couple of loaves of bread, usually, will take care of a whole batch. There's about 50 or 60 of them. And I remember when they had babies. It was really, really cool. I'll never forget it. One day I pulled up in the parking lot where I go, and I got out of my car, and they all ran up to me. There must have been about 50 of them. They all ran up to me. They surrounded my car. And I think, right, they knew, I guess they recognized me. Ducks probably have recognition abilities. They knew who I was. And they knew, right, that I was going to feed them. And, you know, I had bread for them and fed them. That was really cool. I like that. Anything, right, to take my mind off of the drumming. You know, there has to be a point at the end of the day when, you know, you do something else. If you don't do that, right, you'll crack up. Well, I've already cracked up already, but, you know, not in a bad way. But I'm just kidding. But, and then, another thing that I like to do, I'm just suggesting some stuff, all right? I got a friend of mine over at the library who mentions, and he builds like these models, you know, really cool. What I like to get back into, I used to like to do sculpturing, you know, where I sculptured these little things and then painted them. I want to get back into that. That was kind of a fun thing. I haven't done that in a long time. So another thing that I do as a hobby is I like to watch really, really good films. To watch for the cinematography. And also, too, to listen for the music scores, because I'm writing music that probably could be in film. I haven't gotten my music in a film yet, but so I like to listen to, you know, the music. Lalo Schifrin, I think that's how you say it. He did all the music to all the Dirty Harrys, and he did the music to Mission Impossible. Well, he actually did the original music, and his theme was used later. So, you know, I like to do that, listen to the music, and then I like to watch for the cinematography. In other words, I can watch a movie 10 times over and over again to look at the different cinematography. I love cinematography. I like to watch the way a film is shot. You know, and then I'll press rewind, I'll look at the shot. If I was going to do something else with my life, I would have been a filmmaker, but you know, my vision's really not all that good. So I don't think that I would make a good cinematographer. I have limitations with my vision. But I like to watch guys that do that and enjoy that. And you know, I'll give you an example of one movie I could watch over and over and over again is The Terminator 2, the second one. The way James Cameron shot that. Then I like to watch Oliver Stone's work. One movie right now, I don't recommend this movie for anybody that's under 18. I don't recommend this movie for anybody that really doesn't like violence, because it's a very violent movie. It was called Natural Born Killers. But I love the way Oliver shot that film. He used the right like flashes, images that would come up. He also used, you watch the film, black and white images. In other words, like all of a sudden, Tommy Lee Jones was in it. There's a picture of him scratching his head, and then they do a close-up of his nose. There's one thing where he picks his nose. It's really funny, right? You get this on film. And then there's like a black and white image. Then there were images of like these flashes. Now, I don't think Oliver was the first guy to do that. The guy that I first saw do that was the guy who directed The Exorcist. I forgot his name now. But he used to write like flashes of images across the screen, like for 1 second tops, and you would see it really quickly, and then it would disappear off of the screen. That's really hard to do. But it's really cool to look at. You go, wow, what was that? You know, and catch that again. So that's where the rewind comes in handy. So, that's my, those are my 3 main hobbies, yeah. So, you know, whatever it is you like, try to have a hobby that takes you away from what it is you do. Because if you're thinking about what you do all day long, you know, it gets kind of stultifying, you know. You're kind of like a robot. So I find that when I do that, yeah, it makes me kind of cool. The other thing, another one of my hobbies is I do impersonations, and I'm really bad, you know. And I also try to tell funny jokes to people and goof around, you know. Try to be happy, right? Because the world is a vampire, you know. I mean, what's going on in the world, but I don't want to know. I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspaper. I'm oblivious to what's going on. I didn't even know we had an earthquake. Well, actually, I knew that we had one, but I didn't feel it. I think I was driving at the time. No, thank goodness nobody was hurt. Last story about the earthquake. There were some people who I knew, that live in California, and they heard about it because it was a 4.5 or something. It was relatively low on the Richter scale, I think. But it was, so the people in California, they were laughing about it. They said, we don't even get out of bed when that happens, you know. But in California, they've had some earthquakes where a lot of people were unfortunately killed. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm done with this part of my work here. Thank God that's over. That stinks doing that. But anyway, have a hobby. Have some fun. Don't make your hobby, eating candy, though. That's not a good hobby. But there are some guys, that like to cook. That's a really cool thing. I used to have an imaginary show. I'll finish with this. This is crazy. Remember Julia Childs? I used to get really drunk, you know. By the way, I don't drink anymore. And I used to have it, I would tape it. I had an imaginary show. And I was Mr. Julia Childs. And I used to go, and I used to make these conglomerations. I had, by the way, don't do this. Don't you guys try this. But I would have some Malamars, and then those cherries, you know, in the syrup. And then I would pour a little bit of maple syrup on it. And then I would get some Hershey's bars, and I put the whole thing in a microwave with some marshmallows sometimes, and I would eat it. It was like a whole plate. And, you know, I'm wondering why part of my blanket brain is dead. You know, that's what happens when you eat sugar, because sugar causes inflammation. But I liked it. It was a hobby. You know, it was like a cool hobby. Now today, I don't have the show anymore. All I eat is fruit. You know, fruit and cinnamon. You know, what a boring life. I don't want to eat that stuff anymore. If you're eating that way, you're eating a lot of sugar, yeah, pay attention to because it's going to come a time, it could happen to you, you know, where you get the inflammation of the brain and cause permanent damage, which I don't brag about, I don't advertise about, but if you're not careful about it, it could happen to you. You really don't want to be in that situation. So pay attention and plan ahead, you know, really plan ahead. Anyway, have a hobby, whatever it is. Just make sure it's not it's a cool hobby, you know. Make it cool. Make it part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. Thanks, guys. I hope you like what I said. See you on another segment. I'm burnt. Take care.